What's up, guys? I'm doing a Despia tier list for Master Duel. This deck is really fun. It doesn't have all of its complete pieces out yet. It should in the future, but for now, this is the current list. I'm playing with it. It is a lot of fun. I'm sitting at Plat 3 with it, and I would highly recommend it to anybody that likes fusion-based archetypes. So, we're going to go ahead and go through everything one by one. We have one Psy-Frame driver, and we are running him because we have our Psy-Frame gear Gamma. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned by a card effect. When your opponent activates a monster effect while you control no monsters, you can special summon both this card from your hand and one Psy-Frame driver from your hand deck or graveyard. And if you do, negate that activation, and if you do, destroy that monster. During the end phase, banish the face-up monster special summon by this card effect. So this card's really good. It's kind of like a better effect veiler because it can negate things in the hand. The other reason I'm running it is a light monster, and light monsters are pretty good in Despia. You can run like any light monster lineup because it helps you make these big guys right here. One light monster, one dark monster, one Despia monster, one Despia and one light or one dark monster. So I do like having them to be both light monsters and effect negation monsters and bodies on the board. You can do this during your opponent's turn and put a 2,500 beater on the board to kind of help defend you if you find yourself with no cards in your main monster zone, which has came in handy. So the first monster in the Despia deck, and in my opinion it is probably the second best one. When this card is sent from the deck to the graveyard or banished by a card effect, you can add one Despia monster from your deck to your hand, except Despian Tragedy. You can banish this card from your graveyard, target one branded spell and trap card in your graveyard, set it to your field. You can only use one Despian Tragedy effect per turn and only once that turn. So this card's great. If you use Allure of Darkness and you banish this for cost, you do get the effect. If you fuse it, you get the effect. If you discard it for Super Poly, you get the effect. If you discard it for Branded Opening, you get the effect. Card just really great. Next we have Maxi. Maxi is a great card in Master Duel because every time our opponent would special summon a monster or monsters, we can discard it from our hand and we can draw one card for each one of those summons. So let's say our opponent special summons two monsters at once, we still only draw the one card. But if it's something like Drytron, where it's just monster after monster after monster, or if it's another combo deck, you're going to get to draw a lot of cards. And more cards is good because consistency is good. Next up, we have two Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. When a card or card effect is activated and includes any of these, adding a card from the deck to the hand, special summoning from the deck, or sending a card from the deck to the graveyard, you can discard it from your hand, you can negate that effect, you can only use Ash Blossom once per turn. This also stops Maxi. Edge Imp Chain. So Edge Imp Chain and Fright for Patchwork are in here because these two cards help the deck have a lot of consistency that it normally wouldn't have because it is missing pieces of the archetype currently that aren't in Master Duel. So I really like having Edge Imp Chain and Fright for Patchwork. Edge Imp Chain's effect is when it declares an attack, you can add an Edge Imp Chain from your deck to your hand. You're probably not really going to use that very often. The effects you will use is if it's sent from the hand or field to the graveyard, you can add a Fright for card from your deck to your hand, and then you can only use one Edge Imp Chain effect per turn and only once that turn. So the effect to add the Fright for card when it leaves the hand or the field, once again, that'll work if you use it for Polarization, or if you discard its cost for Super Poly, or if you discard its cost for Branded Opening. So I can play Branded Opening, discard Edge Imp Chain, special summon out this guy, which we'll get to in a moment, and then when that's all done, Edge Imp Chain effect is going to activate, add Fright for Patchwork to my hand, and then from there I can activate Fright for Patchwork. And what Fright for Patchwork does is let you add a Edge Imp monster and a Polarization from your deck to your hand, and you can only activate one fright for patchwork per turn. So you can turn pitching this for cost into like a decent +1 in the end, because you'll get that and then you'll get 2 more cards. So you have +1 because this replaces itself basically. One Dogmatica Ecclesia cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster special summoned from the extra deck. You can only use each effect of Ecclesia once per turn. If a monster special summoned from the extra deck is on the field, you can special summon it from your hand. If it is normal or special summoned, you can activate this effect. Add 1 Dogmatica card from your deck to your hand, except Ecclesia. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn. I really like that effect, just because it allows me to get this guy, which we'll cover in a moment. If I've already used him, then the effect doesn't really matter, and sometimes I'll just special it because I finished my combo and it's another body on the board for 15. But most importantly, it is a light monster, and you need light monsters for this guy and this guy. And this guy also lets you add, well, not add, but, oh yeah, lets you add or special a Dogmatica. So Dogmatica, pretty good with this archetype, just running the 2 of them. Next we have 2 Fallen of Albaz. Some people like running 1 in this deck. I think 2 is better personally for consistency. If this card is normal or special summoned except during the damage step, you can discard 1 card, fusion summon 1 monster from your extra deck using monsters on either field as fusion material. A super poly on wheels, basically, I'll take it. But you cannot use other monsters you control as fusion material. You can only use this effect of Fallen of Albaz once per turn. I love when my opponent has a light monster and a dark monster on board, and I get to turn them into this guy. Well, actually, no, you can't really turn them in for that guy if they don't have a Despia, if it's like not the mirror match. But I can go Fallen of Albaz, one of their level 8 or higher monsters, or Fallen of Albaz and a monster with 2,500 attack or more. Jeez, I cannot English today, you guys. Or Fallen of Albaz and a light monster. That one's generic. So I do really like this card's monster effect as well. I think it's very useful. Alubar, the Jester of Despia. When this card is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 branded spell or trap from your deck to your hand. If a face-up fusion monster you control is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, while this card is in the graveyard, you can target 1 effect monster your opponent controls, special summon this card, and if you do, negate the targeted monster's effects until the end of this turn. That like quick effect failure type effect, basically, or like impermanence effect, that is great to have. You can only use 1 Alibard of Despia effect per turn, only once that turn. I do love that negate effect, though. It is just really great to have sometimes. It can steal games. Dogmatica Maximus. I'd seen people running this card in other decks before I made this list and before I played this, and I was just like, it doesn't seem that great. This card's actually pretty good. Being able to banish or force your opponent to banish 2 potential combo pieces from their extra deck can be really good. Like, let's just say your opponent's playing Zodiac Tri-Brigade. They're going to have to give up 2 of their pieces from the extra deck, and that extra deck is already like really full. Like, if they could have a 25 card extra deck, they'd probably want one. I'll just say that. But Dogmatica Maximus, you can banish a fusion, synchro, XYZ, or link monster from your graveyard. Most of the time you'll banish the fusion. Special summon this card from your hand. During your main phase, you can activate this effect. Send 2 monsters with different names from the extra deck to the graveyard. Also, your opponent sends 2 monsters from the extra deck to the graveyard. Also, you cannot special summon from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, so you would want to do this after you finished your combo. You can only use each effect of Dogmatica Maximus once per turn. Pretty great card, and it has a 3,000 defense booty. Dramaturge of Despia. This card's great. I love the summon effect, and I love the effect negate effect. So if you have a fusion, synchro, XYZ, or link monster that's special summoned, except during the damage step, you can target 1 effect monster on the field. Any effect monster, could be on yours. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but you could. Negate its effect until the end of this turn. If this card in your hand or field is used as fusion material and it's sent to the graveyard or banished, you can special summon this card. So I really love that effect. You can only use each of his effect once per turn. And then next we have Albion, the Shrouded Dragon. Albion is pretty good. What I like best about Albion is that he's like a consistency card. So that is pretty nice to have. This card's name also becomes Fallen of Albaz while it's on the field or in the graveyard. If this card in your hand is in your hand or graveyard, you can send a Fallen of Albaz or a branded spell or trap card from your hand or deck to the graveyard. And then, depending on which one you sent, if it was from the hand, you can special summon him. If it was from the deck, you can place it on the bottom of the deck and then draw one card. And that's only if you place it from the hand. If it's in the graveyard, you're just recycling it. But sometimes you might want to do that just to get something engraved. Like you can toss Branded Opening Engrave, which protects your fusions. We'll get to that in just a little bit. But I really like this card. You can only use this effect of Shrouded Dragon once per turn. So he's level 8, he's 2,500, and he's dark. Pretty decent stats all around, and the fact that it's a rare in here, I also really like that. Next we have Harpy's Feather Duster. Destroy all spell and trap cards your opponent controls. I just like it because Skill Drain is a hell of a card, and I'm tired of seeing it in the metagame. So having this to out Skill Drain is primarily why it's there. It is nice when I do blow out 5 back row as well. 3 Polarization. You use a Diffusion Summon. That's pretty much it. 2 Allure of Darkness. Draw 2 cards. Banish a dark monster from your hand, or if you do not have any in your hand, send your entire hand to the grave. Since most of your deck is dark, you'll be using this. Sometimes I'll have the extra Edge Imp dead in hand and I'll remove it. Most of the time I will end up banishing Tragedy, because that's the one that you would want to banish, because you'll also get the Tragedy effect. 2 Fright for Patchwork, which we covered earlier. This card's great. Gets you an Edge Imp monster and a Polarization from your deck to your hand. You can use it to add another chain, to use Chain's effect to search another Patchwork. It's basically just like recycling cards. It's really great. You can set yourself up for next turn with it as well. Great card. I'm running the 1 Nadir Servant. Send 1 monster from your extra deck to your graveyard. The reason I like that effect is you can do it during your opponent's turn, and you can send one of the fusions that has an effect in the graveyard, which we'll get to in a little bit. And then you can add a Dogmatica monster or a Fallen of Albaz from your deck or graveyard to your hand. That is attack less than or equal to that sent monster in the graveyard. Also, for the rest of the turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. You can only activate 1 Nadir Servant per turn. Card is really good to have. I really like doing it on my opponent's turn on their end phase, set up for next turn, and also get the fusion graveyard effect. Next we have Despia, Theater of the Branded. During your main phase, you can fusion summon 1 level 8 or higher fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. If a face-up non-fusion fairy monster, which the Despias are all fairies, fairy, well that one's dragon, but it's not a Despia, so meh. But if a face-up non-fusion fairy monster leaves the field by opponent's card effect or is destroyed by battle, you can target 1 level 8 or higher fusion monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You can only use each effect of Despia, Theater of the Branded once per turn. So I love the effect that whenever like one of my little guys leaves the board, I can bring out one of the big guys from grave. It's just really, really useful. Next we have 2 Super Polarization. Discard 1 card, fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters from either field as fusion material. Neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation, so they cannot Solemn Judgment it, they cannot Solemn Warning it, they cannot stop it in any way. Once you activate and you pay cost, it is off to the races with it. And then finally, we have Branded Opening. Discard one card, then take one Despia monster from your deck, add it to your hand, or special summon in defense position. Also, for the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck, except fusion monsters. If a fusion monster or monsters you control would be destroyed by a card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. You can only use each effect of Branded Opening once per turn, and this card is fantastic. I really like playing Branded Opening and then going for the Jester and then using the Jester effect to add the Theater to my hand, or sometimes I'll use it to add another Branded Opening because sometimes I want to just set up for next turn, or during my opponent's in phase or something, I want to use this effect, pop him out again, and for cost, discard something like Egypt Chain or Despian Tragedy to get more cards during my opponent's turn. So, great card. And for the extra deck, we have Mud Dragon in the Swamp. The entire reason we're running this is basically as a super polarization target. It's two monsters with the same attribute but different types. And its effects you probably won't use that much, but your opponent can't target this card or monsters on the field with the same attribute as this card with card effects. So you could make it dark to where your opponent couldn't target your dark monsters or light monsters, depending on what board you have. And once per turn, you can declare an attribute. This card becomes that attribute until the end of the turn. It's kind of useful. I mainly just use it because I can super poly my opponent's board with it. Because if my opponent has something that can't be targeted or something that's unaffected by things, you can always fuse with it. Next we have Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. This card has been MVP. It is two dark monsters on the field except for tokens. If it's fusion summoned, you can make this card gain attack equal to one opponent special summon monster until the end of the turn. Once per turn, you can target a level 5 or higher monster your opponent controls until the end phase. This card's name becomes that monster's original name, and it also gains that monster's effects, original effects. If the fusion summon card is destroyed, you can destroy all your opponent's special summon monsters. This card has been insanely helpful, and the best part is it's two dark monsters, so if your opponent has any dark monsters on the field, you can use Super Poly to make it with your opponent's stuff. Next we have Titan Tiki. I'm just calling Tiki Ash Dragon. Tiki, the Ash Dragon. It's one Fallen of Albaz, so this guy or this guy from grave or on the field. And then one monster with 2,000 or 500 more attack. He gains attack equal to the combined original levels of the monsters used for his fusion summon times 100. After this card is fusion summoned for the rest of the turn, it is unaffected by activated effects of any other monster special summon from the extra deck. During the end phase, if it's in the graveyard because it was sent there, you can add to your hand or special summon one Dogmatica monster or one Fall of Albaz from your deck. I like beaming out the 3,000 booty. After this card's fusion summon, you can only use one. You can only use this effect of the Ash Dragon once per turn. So, card's great. Brigand, the Glory Dragon, cannot be destroyed by battle. When you control this fusion summon card, your opponent cannot target other monsters you control with monster effects. During the end phase, if it's in the graveyard because it was sent there, you can special summon a Tribe Rage or a Fall of Albaz monster from your deck. I don't use him that much. I'm actually thinking about possibly taking him out for another branded dragon, or taking this guy out for another branded dragon, because I do like his effect. I just don't find myself using him very much. One Sprind, the Iron Dash Dragon. So this one is one Fall of Albaz and one monster special summon this turn. Makes it a great super poly target. During your main phase, you can move this card to another one of your main monster zones, then destroy all other face-up cards in its column. I love that effect. It does not target. If this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can add to your hand or special summon one Spriggans or one Fall of Albaz from the deck. You can only use each effect once per turn. Next we have Albion the Branded Dragon, which in my opinion is one of the best cards in the deck. If it's fusion summoned, you can fusion summon one level 8 or lower fusion monster from your extra deck, except Albion the Branded Dragon, by banishing fusion materials mentioned on it from your hand, field, or graveyard. During the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can add to your hand or set one branded spell trap card directly from your deck. I personally love that effect. It is one full of Albaz and one light monster. And I think I am actually going to take out one of him for this guy. I would advise running 2. I actually wanted to see him more when I was playing him. And then we have Despian Cortisis, one Despian monster, one light or dark monster. During your main phase, quick effect. Sorry, not your main phase, the main phase. You can do this on your opponent's turn. It has been hilarious watching my opponent just have a bunch of 0/0s. During the main phase, this is a quick effect. You can change the attack of all monsters currently on the field to 0 until the end of this turn, except level 8 or higher fusion monsters. So this face-up card in the owner's field, in the owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect. You can add to your hand or special summon one full of Albaz or Despia monster from your deck. You can only use this effect of Despia Cortisis once per turn. I love the drop effect. I'm actually running 2 of this guy. I think he is probably the best Despia currently. Next we have Predaplant. I'm just going to say Predaplant Triffiovertum. I'm just butchering these names, guys. This one is here because it's 3 dark monsters on the field. It is a super poly target. That's why it's there. Next we have well, actually, his effect is good too. We do bring him out on one of the replays. Once per turn, when your opponent special summons a monster from the extra deck and you control this fusion summon card, you can negate the summon. And if you do, you destroy the monster. And the next one's a Predaplant effect, like Predaplant counter effect. We never get to resolve that, so I'm just going to skip over it. Next, we have Despian Pro Stenion. I like the fact that he's 3200. Like, the stats are just great. He's one Despia monster, one light monster, one dark monster. During the main phase, quick effect, you can target one Fusion, Synchro, XYZ, or Link monster in your opponent's graveyard. You can banish it, or you can special summon it to your field. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to the monster's original attack and defense, whichever is higher. You can only use each effect of Despian Pro Skelion once per turn. His effect is great. It leaves a little bit to be desired, but all in all, it's pretty good. Next we have the first Dark Lord, which is 3 Dark Fairy monsters, which looky here, Dark Fairy, Dark Fairy, Dark Fairy. He's Dragon, okay. But yeah, Dark Fairy, he's pretty easy to make, and whenever I do get to make him, it is great. Your opponent cannot target fairy monsters you control with card effects. You can only use one of the following effects of the first Dark Lord once per turn, only once this turn. The only one we'll ever get to use is during the main phase. You can pay 1,000 life points, special summon one fairy monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position. I love that effect, and I love being able to use it with this guy to get his special summon effect. Next we have Nightmare Phoenix. You know the drill with him. 2 monsters with different names. When he's link summoned, you discard a card, target spell or trap card your opponent controls, and destroy it. If it's co-link when you activate the effect, you get to draw a card. And then we finally have Predaplant Verte Anaconda. He has 2 effect monsters, and you can target one face-up monster on the field that becomes dark until the end of the turn. I like that because I can make one of my opponent's monsters a dark monster and then use it with Super Poly to fuse for one of my Despians or one of my Predaplants. And his second effect, which is the one that's really good, is you can pay 2,000 life points, send a fusion or polarization, normal or quick play spell, so we can get Super Poly, from your deck to the graveyard. This card's effect becomes that spell's effect when that card is activated, so it becomes Super Poly, which is pretty good. You cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn. You can only use the effect of Predaplant Verte Anaconda once per turn. You only use each effect once per turn. So that card, really great. Basically, any two of your monsters can become a Verti Anaconda. If it's your turn and let's say you activate Allure of Darkness and they activate Ash, you can use Cyframe, Gear Gamma, and you'll get Gamma and Driver, and then you can make both of them. Well, actually, you need one more monster because two effect monsters, but you need Gamma and then one other monster. Boom, Verti Anaconda and Cyframe Driver can then be used as fusion material. Like, it's just really handy. But I'm sure you guys have heard enough of me talking. We're going to get some replays. But first, I would like to say that this video is sponsored by W Energy Drink. It is really good. I particularly like the pink lemonade dragon fruit flavor. You can use the affiliate link below to get 10% off with code SirLargeGaming. And I hope you guys enjoy all the awesome Despia replays that you're about to see, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.